Hey everyone and welcome back. And yes, the Udinese result was completely horrific. It wasn't good at all. I pinned us on getting 3 points. I feel like we had to get 3 points in that fixture, especially if when you look back at the weekend, Napoli lost, Juventus, they drew as well, the Lazio lost as well. It just goes down as another wasted weekend, let alone the fact that teams like Inter Milan and Atalanta are still racking up wins in the league. My issue is more to do with how the team is playing right now, with the individual errors, with the injuries, and all these sort of things combined. And what I've not done in ages, since probably like my first couple of months since from joining Stefano Milan, is do a new formation video, like a new idea. And it's not to say that this is a no-brainer, and also a thing that's definitely going to get adapted into Stefano Pioli's side. But at least something that I think logically might just kind of be there, might just be tampered with, or just I think I've seen it at certain times as well, and we'll get onto the actual formation. It's not too crazy compared to what we usually deploy, the 4-2-3-1 formation. But yeah, it's mainly to do with one player, in my opinion. Yes, we can hamper on about players like Salamakers not being reliable, but my issue has come from a consistent amount of weeks now with a certain player in this team. I'm not trying to scapegoat him, but I think it's so crucial with the 4-2-3-1 formation, and that's Brahim Diaz. He's not playing well. Obviously, it's not all his fault. He did go out for a long period of time because of COVID, and also what that does affecting your body and how you have to recoup your fitness and all these sort of things. But I was driving home from work today to make this video, and I'm getting back into my Arctic Monkeys. They're a great UK rock band. Shout out to Ollie and Jan, you know about that, and even Isaac, I think you listened to it as well. Great band, and they got a song on one of their albums called Snap Out of It, and that's what Brahim Diaz needs to do. I want to grab both your shoulders and shake you, Brahim, snap out of it. Don't clip that, Ollie, please. But anyway, Brahim Diaz needs to snap out of this. But if he doesn't, and this form continues, we have to consider alternative solutions and formations, because I always believe that the best players should field the decider at any given time. Of course, we're out of the Champions League now. We're out of Europe completely. So when it comes to the new year, we're going to have to obviously field the best team and have a week's rest between each game. I want no excuses in the new year. It needs to be the best team that hits the field any given opportunity. Obviously, there's AFCON to worry about. We'll get onto that. But the formation I'm going to look at to come away from the 4-2-3-1, and I think it's actually a potentially realistic change, is to go to a 4-3-3. Now, before I carry on with this formation, I do want to say that I do really love the 4-2-3-1. It's always been my preferred formation, probably since old Christmas, 4-3-1-2, Kaka days of AC Milan. In the new sort of era that we're in right now, I do love the 4-2-3-1. I think it gets the best out of it. All the players, the fullbacks, the centre mids and the double pivot, the attacking midfielders, the wingers, allows a striker to have a bit of variation in his movement. I love it, and I still think we should obviously consider that one as our preferred go-to formation. But what we have here is a plethora of midfielders. And I think this is the main thing as well we need to look at, and how the midfield's currently doing right now, the double pivot. I did a tweet, it was actually today, the day of making this video. Ollie turned it into an article on the website. Maybe we'll give it a read if you want. Just looking at how we field and how the setup's done. Spoken about a few times before as well. It's not quite a natural 4-2-3-1 formation. One of the centre midfielders dips into the sort of the centre backs and makes a back three. The fullbacks press high, act as wingers, and then the inverted wingers cut inside to stay as close as they can to the centre forward, and the attacking midfielder and the spare centre midfielder sort of float around the midfield. And what we saw happened obviously against Sassuolo was a sloppy goal given away from a poor pass from Bakayoko, and all of a sudden their press has just completely killed us. Same thing happens again with Bennacer, sloppy ball given away against Udinese, and their press kills us with their first goal in the game. That's not so much a fault on the formation, it's to do with the setup, but I do go on and talk about in the article is that it became a bit too predictable last year. And I think this is why Pioli had to tweak things, had to make things much more fluid, move players about. It's not quite a natural 4-2-3-1 formation. And I think this is what we're currently working with right now, where we have to rely on players with great individual quality, not giving the ball away like that, recovering the ball quickly. But when you have players like Bakayoko and Romagnoli, sometimes you can have these faults in their game. You're going to see mistakes happen, and we're sloppily giving goals away. Which gets me onto the 4-3-3 formation I'm suggesting in this case. When we really look for it, and we look at the centre midfielders that we have in this team, and also the players even we have out on loan. I've made videos about this before in the past. Players like Pobega, Yacine Adli, the players we're linked to like Renato Sanchez, and even like Boubacar Kamara. I think this is probably one of our best positions in the team, and obviously like the weaker positions could be, and the ones lacking depth is the attacking midfielders and the right wingers. So this kind of in a sense deals with that aspect at the same time. So let's just kind of go through the 4-3-3 formation that I've got here. So in goal, obviously Double M, Mike Mignon smashing it. I still think he's a great, well, he's doing well this season anyway. Fikayo Tomori and Romagnoli, the back line it stays the same. Tomori, Romagnoli until Kaya comes back, or we get a sort of centre-back solution. Teo Hernandez at left-back, Davide Calabria at right-back. These two are quite important, especially with this formation. We look back in the past. We had players like De Sciglio back then, and like Ignacio Abate, who did a job when we played this formation in the past. But when you really compare it, like Ricardo Rodriguez, when you really compare it to what these two fullbacks can do, the modern-day fullback, attack and defend at a high level, I just think this formation and having a bit more of a narrow midfield allows them more license to roam, and the added protection that there's going to be cover in the defensive phases. Midfield, look, Benacer, Kessie and Tonali is my preferred go-to starting. Obviously, I am aware that the African Cup of Nations is right around the corner in a month's time, so we are losing Benacer and Kessie. So this is a video kind of made around that tournament. And I do feel like, regardless if Kessie stays or not, this is a formation that we should consider, because we have, once again, a plethora of centre midfielders. Pobega's out on loan. He would easily slot in as the left centre midfielder in this position. Yacine Adli could take one of these box-to-box roles. Rade Krunic, who's actually having a good run of form right now, could easily slot into these preferred roles where he actually likes to play, let alone sticking him out at left wing all the time, or as a false nine. And importantly, up top, Leao, Rebic, they stick to their preferred positions. Ibra, Giroud, the strikers, and at right wing as well, Macias, doesn't really have to worry about defending as much as he probably has to all the time. They're really centre midfielders, these box-to-box midfielders there now. It's one extra one. Not a kind of a weaker player like Brahim Diaz. Macias has more license to roam in the attacking department. I think this is something to be considered. Let alone the fact that we can easily add players, not have to worry about like getting another attacking midfielder in, just maybe work on getting a top-class right winger or a younger profile centre forward, someone who can help with a press a bit more easily, rather than having like an older Ibra or Giroud. But they're there nonetheless. I still think most of these chips are in place for this side to fill this formation. And yeah, obviously, we talk about the extra midfield protection that you get by having a third centre midfielder. Importantly, is playing Tonali consistently. And I'll talk about the fact that, we only got Serie A to worry about in a few Coppa Italia games if we go the distance in that. Tonali has to play every game without fail. I understand the rotation. I understand that he has to play Bakayoko to get him up to match speed, because we are going to lose Kessie and Benacer, regardless of what we care about that or not. But Bakayoko has to get minutes in his legs. He needs to have an understanding with certain players and build chemistry with them at the same time. We can't just throw him into the team in late January and hope he does well, because we're going to get these performances that we're seeing right now. Like I said, there's no need to spend on a centre attacking midfielder. The fixture list, the Macias freedom, the Brahim Diaz form isn't great right now. And just getting other players who are kind of like bench players like Krunic, and even players out on loan, even next year, to consider Adli and Pobega to come into the side and actually get a spot in the team. Okay, so now the pitfalls. Yes, the African Cup of Nations is probably the biggest one. For 4 to 5 weeks, we'll be losing 2 of these centre midfielders. And that's obviously going to be big when you play a 4-3-3. The three, Kessie and Benacer are big players in this side. We know about that one. I feel like we do need a more mobile centre forward. I think like someone like Ibra and Giroud lacks the energy when it comes to the press. They might benefit from it. We don't quite know until this ever gets seen in an open game. I just don't think they have the mobility and the energy to keep this going in this certain formation. I think that's why Brahim Diaz is played, to give him that sort of to make that distance up between the centre midfielders and the striker. He is that sort of linchpin. So Ibra might not have to drop off as much, because Diaz is sort of floating in around him, and he's kind of being that sort of. He's had it before in the past. That players like Robinho has picked up a lot of the slack. So I do feel like a younger centre forward like Vlahovic would be perfect in this team. As the linchpin striker, he'd be just great, because he has the energy, he has the drive for it. And more importantly, I think the most important reason why this formation could potentially struggle is because there is a lack of goals probably from when you look at this midfield. You look at Tonali, Benacer and Kessie in open play, obviously not Kessie with penalties, but in open play, is this team getting a lot of goals? These three centre midfielders getting a lot of goals? And the answer is no, or not from what we've seen as of yet. I think this formation requires players a bit more impact on the offensive end when it comes to players like Barella or Pellegrini in Serie A. They're fantastic. They're really fantastic, floating in around the box, picking up great goals. I think this is something that Tonali could probably work with the most, but we get to see it in his career because he's kind of been deployed more in a deeper role and uses aggression quite well. So I think he'd be good at winning the ball back, but I don't know if it's like converting from long range or short range distance shots. And you have to think you have to replace the goals that Brahim Diaz gives you, and that could be like, let's say 5 to 10 goals a season. One of these players getting those stats? Obviously, Kessie, once again, you take the penalties out of the equation. Is he getting that in open play? No, he's not. I think these are my major pitfalls when it comes to the formation. I think the important thing is, what I'm trying to say here is this is a potential alternative. I think it's a realistic alternative at the same time. But like I said, consistently, I love the 4-2-3-1 formation, guys. That's my opinions on things. I think it all spears down to the fact that certain players that we rely upon heavily right now with the injuries building up, like Brahim Diaz, is not performing. It's adding to a lack of goals, especially from open play, and that's also not helping when it comes to linking up play with the wingers and the centre forward. He's just such a pivotal player in this formation that we currently deploy that I just kind of want to see some potential solutions, other than the fact I'm hoping that he's going to regain his form. So guys, give me any potential ideas with a formation change, drop them in the comment section below, guys. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, follow us on Twitter, follow myself on Twitter if you want to, and until next time, guys, Forza Milan.